everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how to paint these Zen stacked stones. These are stacked stones with lotus flowers in acrylic. I'm going to explain it to you step by step, and help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
So this is part of a 31-day daily painting challenge called Acrylic August. Normally it's called Acrylic April, but we had to do it in August this year. Acrylic August, and every single day I am coming to you with a brand new lesson for a daily painting, because nothing makes you better at painting than painting often. And so this is my way to give back to my community and help them grow as much as they can grow as artists. So if you're here part of the daily painting challenge, I want to welcome you back. I want to remind you that you can put your questions in all caps if you're here for the live chat, and we will be sure to get those answered. But I also answer questions after the live broadcast. So if you find this video 5 years later, 5 months later, it doesn't really matter when, and you have anywhere, any years, and you have a question, just put it there, because I check my YouTube channel every day and I try to answer questions every day. I get a lot of them and I don't get to all of them, but I am constantly looking, and so that's a great way to reach it. Other than that, you can write me at support@theartsherpa.com. Check the description down below. You'll find the traceable materials, links to our website, more information that you can do. And honestly, there's really nothing for you to do but get your paint, get your brushes. The materials listed down in that description down below, and come back and I'm going to paint this with you right now. For today's fun project, I'm going to be using an 8x8 canvas, and on my palette, I have the following colors: yellow ochre, Mars black, burnt sienna, phthalo green, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta. It looks like I have blue here, but I don't, because I changed my mind. Titanium white, and I have satin glazing liquid for blending and for slowing and glazing. So that's why I have that there. But again, I don't have any blue. I love to throw them like little fun moments like this. Ignore the blue. I changed my mind, but it stained the paper. All right, let's just jump right on into today's class. Step one. Step one will be fun. I'm going to just paint the whole canvas black. I'm going to take a 3/4 inch brush, angle brush, and just paint the whole thing black. You can paint around the sides or not, as you see fit. I like it when we start with the ground, because it gets that first step out of the way, which I think is sometimes the hardest step, is that first step in a painting.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll have anxiety about doing a painting until I get into the first couple of steps. And then once I get a first couple of steps under me, I start to get calm and confident. So sometimes it just takes a couple steps to find your Zen, which is, you know, this is a good painting for finding your Zen. I've done a few Zen paintings in my day. But I thought it was... Yeah, I thought this would be a good one to give everybody, because you've got to stay Zen in your daily painting. You've got to figure out how to roll with it and flow with it, because there's just so many things that are not in your control. And being at peace with that, the curveballs that life throws you, is a big part of balancing a consistent daily painting program, you know, with your life.
Totally get that, yeah.
I'm going to dry the canvas thoroughly, and when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. I'm going to use chalk to kind of sketch out some parts of the design. In this particular case, I'm using a Stabilo chalk pencil. You could use a Dritz chalk tool. I just got to find my chalk again, because that's what's always happening to me. Just any of these will work, and we're going to kind of sketch in what we've got. Now, this is a stage where you would use the traceable if you're not confident in drawing, and it's not cheating. It's just a tool. It's a really old tool, like around since the 11th century, so you are good using it, but I'm going to show you how I would draw this in freehand if you'd like to follow along. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up a couple of inches, and I'm going to sketch in a big anchoring stone. This is my anchoring stone. Nice big anchoring stone. And then on top of it, I'm going to sketch another little round stone that's sort of thin there. And then on this one, I'm going to sketch a slightly bigger stone. And then here at the top, I'm going to add small, sort of like little pointed stone. You just kind of make them any old shape that you want. It's really not, it's not that important. Because stones just come in lots and lots of different shapes. Sometimes I'll come in and sketch out little parts of my rocks after just to be sure that I like them, how they're shaped. Now I'm going to add a couple a stone here and maybe like a friend here that's a stone. And I could imply one is coming over here maybe. I don't know, maybe not. Now I want to have something kind of interesting up here, so I'm going to sketch in a flower. I'm going to begin by pulling in some nice leaves. Well, petals, really. Let's sketch those in. Little petal shapes are always sort of fun to do. I'm going to apply a little kind of bent over one here and a little bent over one here. Maybe there's a petal that comes off to the side, bends in. Add a little fold to that. It's always fun to do the upward petals because they're in perspective.
You're kind of reaching up towards the light.
Yeah, and how we do them is we actually shade them, and we'll make sure that some of the center will show through right there. And then I'm going to have one little petal coming off this way. And fold a leaf there. That's the sound of my sharpener.
It makes them sharp.
Okay, so there will be pink petals sort of folding down back here. So I'm going to do my white flower now. I might move it down a little bit. Thinking hard.
It's okay. I hardly think.
I'm going to kind of try to sketch in the overall form and shape of the flower. And then give myself some petals to work from. Maybe we'll do another little fold it over, a little petal here. And see, our petal can layer over that one. Maybe it has a little fold here too. It's folds on folds, right? Fold there. Now let's bring maybe a little one over to the side out here. I could do another slight one on the inside there. Curve a little petal down like this. And maybe another one there. And so in the center will be the little flower there. And so that's how I'm going to get that in. I'm going to look around, change anything that I think needs changing. This is going to be interesting with one flower in front and one flower behind. All right, that is the sketch. You will have had the traceable from my painting, so you know this worked out. But I'm at the stage where I don't know it worked out. But this is what you should have on your canvas that you transferred on, either freehanded or with the traceable. When we come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to take a slightly smaller angle brush. I'm going to take a 1/2 inch angle, which is smaller than I would normally go. I'm going to grab some glazing liquid and get it into my Mars Black. I'm going to come up and down. So glazing liquid, little Mars Black. I'm going to be real careful going around the stones. The second coat really makes the background rich and dark. Kind of dry brush that there and let that be there. Come back in and hit the other side just real quick, because we have some very dramatic lighting here. But to get that dramatic lighting really in, we want to get the dark. Now I'm going to paint around my flower fairly preciously. Kind of around the sides. I'm going to rinse out thoroughly. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo green and burnt sienna together. Kind of come to this outside edge with that. Precious around the flower. Getting a little more yellow in there. Around here, just very carefully, kind of blending up.
I love that subtle green in there.
Starting to get it going.
It just emerges from the darkness.
If I paint out a little bit of my stone, I don't worry because I'm putting those back in with gray. Grab a little bit more of the yellow. And now I want to get some white involved. Dropping some light down. I'm wiping out my brush. I'm coming back with just a little more yellow. Kind of streaking that in here too. I may streak over my one small stone just to have, because it's so easy to put back in. There, that's a nice little drama kick. A little more white drug down in. There we go. Little bit of dramatic lighting at the back. Okay. So we're going to let that dry. And when we come back, I'm going to work down here. So we don't need to dry it with our hairdryer. We're just going to come right down to the bottom. Step 4. Step 4. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my Mars Black. I'm going to make a fairly dark brown. Then I'm going to kind of paint this lower area with. Painting around the flowers carefully. Come up here. And we'll just end these right about there, about midway in the little round stone. It's pretty dark, so take a little bit of my burnt sienna. Maybe grab a little yellow ochre. Just kind of blending that in. All right, now I do want to dry it with a hairdryer. I'm going to come back. I'll show you what we do next. Okay, now I want to get into my pink flower, and I'm going to take a little bit of my water with my number 6 Raphael Sepia round brush. I'm going to take a bit of my cad red into my quinacridone, and I'm going to begin to paint my petal. It's the inside shape right here. Might get a little bit of titanium white involved just to pink it up a bit. There we go, that's pinker. Blend that down. Come right here. Grab a little bit of this red that's going to come behind this. Dark red. So I'm just making the petals that are behind things show. Where little corners of pink might show through. Then back into the white. Open there. A bit of my magenta and come on the underside there. I'm just trying to hold where the shadows are. Now come around and fill in all those spaces, and then up the petals with my pure quinacridone. Now I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I'm really going to lighten it. Start to put the highlight on the outside of the petal. A little bit there. A little bit along that fold there. And then just paint that down here. Maybe a little bit at the tip of this. We're starting to get that in just lovely.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one more little pink to get out. Get our medium pink very carefully. All right. Now I'm going to want to dry that thoroughly with the hairdryer and come back. I'll show you what we do next. I'm going to keep using my number 6 round, even though I could normally size it up, but I use limited brushes for the Acrylic April program. So I'm going to keep on this. I'm going to take a little bit of white over to my black and make a gray. Let's come up to the top, and we talked about painting this back in. With gray. I'm going to paint this stone in too. All the stones with gray. Now this isn't their shading or any of that yet. They're just
gray stones.
You're just right now getting that basic gray stone in. I love teaching these because they really help students learn how to do shading and value in a non-threatening subject matter. You know, the petals, their lights and darks, the stones, their lights and darks really start to convey just blocking in some gray. It's not really like, boom, extraordinary looking at this stage.
Boom! I think it is.
But it'll get there real fast. I don't really need a glazing medium. I'm just going to bring some white over to my black, make more gray. And paint very carefully around the flowers.
Just painting that gray.
Just painting that gray. It's just kind of
Gray on gray.
Gray on gray.
Someone said there's some different shades of that.
There's 50 shades, they say, but really only 10 we can see.
Or so.
Some people with really developed eyes can maybe see up to 20. There's a really cool color set once called 50 Shades of Gray.
Yeah.
That had 50 shades of different grays. It was really kind of cool. There's a limited edition.
If you're gonna run on a pun, I mean,
you got to run hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, they don't give art a whole lot of them to begin with. I mean, I guess there's a handful, but it's not as target-rich environment as some other places.
Not as much, right? Now I'm going to come in here and make a slightly darker gray. And I'm going to kind of imply this is going to be one that's going to be out in the shadows. I will go ahead and dry brush it in. Even though I know I'm going to push it way, way back into the shadow.
Way back. Way back.
Way, way, way back.
The way back.
All right. That is that step. Let's dry it with a hairdryer and come back. I'll show you what we do next. So now I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre and mix it with my black. And it's going to give me kind of like a yellow gray color. And I'm going to use this as my base to paint the flowers. I'm going to take a little bit of it over here and I'm start to mix it into my white. So let's come right here and paint in petal. The white flower is like in some ways more challenging than the pink just because the values are so high in the grayscale. Mid-gray to so by painting this very, very light gray, it gives me a lot of room to highlight. And the yellow gives me a little bit of tone and hue to play with.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
Little drop of water to improve flow. I'm going to grab a little more white. And I'll paint this one much lighter. Might add a little white highlights here and there just to kind of talk about how the petals could be rolled or flipped.
Yeah. There's a lot of petal talk.
There's a lot of petal talk.
The layers are build the dimension, huh?
Yeah, they start adding up into the flowers. I'm just adding a few little highlights. We will be coming back and adding more highlights later. We just want to add some highlights now so we know where everything is.
Huh.
Want to have a sense of it, you know? All right. Now I'm going to want to dry that and come back. I'll show you what we do next. Now I'm going to want to come here and take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green and a smidge of my cad yellow. I'm going to make a dark green. I'm going to come here and paint a little leaf that is pointed this way. Kind of coming in that way, and then let's think about one maybe bent out the other way. Right off the canvas there. And maybe we will add another couple over here.
Then you have to put them all over.
Just a couple little leaves.
Here and there.
Here and there.
But not everywhere.
No, they're not Roy Kent.
That's true. They're language that would be inappropriate for this painting.
Yes, they would. All right. So a couple little leaves down there. Leaves, nice little balance. Got 5 leaves. We're starting to get some balancing features going. Okay. While those leaves are having a dry, I'm going to come in and think about my rocks a bit. Make a slightly highlighted gray. Come across here and sort of paint it across. Just starting to paint in some highlights. Just kind of pull this across. We're just giving it some balance. We'll probably actually make these a much darker gray when we're all said and done. Now we're just talking about highlights, lowlights.
Gives you some dimensionality to work with.
Just to know where we're going. We still have to cast shadows from the stones, shadows on the ground. There's lots and lots and lots to do. All right, I'm going to rinse that out. I'm going to dry everything with my hair dryer. I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you what we do next. Now I'm going to want to sort of paint in my stones, and I'm going to use my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round brush, and I'm doing that because I want to do a bunch of dry brushing and rough painting. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black. I might even grab my brown this time, a little bit of black and brown onto my brush, and I'm going to come here and start to brush in a much darker gray. Can dry brush even over my highlight a little bit. We are going to be working layers and layers and layers.
Just one layer at a time.
But we just do it one layer at a time. I'm just dry brushing this across. I'm just darkening up the gray. Little black. Little brown. Brush this across here. And I will be precious around the leaves. But even if I were to make the mistake of painting these out, that would be okay. Because I could put them back. So if you get ahead of me and you paint something out, you can always put it back. Just dry brush, dry brush, dry brush, dry brush, dry brush. There at the top, just kind of knocking that highlight back. And now it's getting kind of a very rough texture, isn't it?
It's very nice. It's a rocky texture.
It's a rocky texture. Get a little bit of highlight here. White on my brush. And I'm just coming back, dry brushing back. Just dry brushing back. Don't mean to be so quiet, but my little brain's just a churning.
It's a dry brushing brain.
It's a dry brushing brain, and that dry brushing brain is a little bit quieter. So there are shadows between these rocks and across these rocks, but we're going to use our glazing medium to get them in. Once we get the
And that's
shape of our rocks in where we're happy.
Something about your daily painting experience is that every day is going to be different.
Every day is different. Every day you come to the canvas, you're in a different place. The painting is different. Everything is different. Just a really rough texture. Just dry brushing in, dry brushing in. Now, even when I'm dry brushing, I will rinse my brush out. That's really just so that the paint doesn't dry into the bristles and mess me up.
Right.
Now, while I'm here, I'm going to get a little bit more black onto my mix. There's a little brown in there, a little black. This is much darker. Dry brush that there. Change direction, multi-direction, layering, layering, layering. You'll notice that as you layer stones, I kind of push this back even into the background with my dry brushing, so it's a little bit part of everything. Just kind of swirling around, scumbling around.
You're rocking this.
Rocking it. And you're rocking it at home, too. want to dry brush this top rock just a little bit more. I go back into my light highlight. Dry brush it back. The more you play with it, the more it just comes into focus. Okay. Now I'm going to want to dry everything. So I'm going to want to put some of this ground and everything into the background. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black and my brown again over here. Make quite a dark color. Using the same brush. Got a visitor. Art aficionado. Kind of coming around this area where it's going to be dark. It's going to be dark around this rock. And around that one. Okay, then I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow ochre and my burnt sienna and a little white and play. It's just a light brushing of that color over everything. Starting to just bring that soil or, you know, that sort of into play. I'm going to put this brush aside. I grab a little bit of black. Make a little circle. I like little shadows. All right. When you've got those little shadows in, come and add a little more white to my dirt mix. Not too much water. I do want it to be a dry brush. So that's the thing I'm always balancing out too, is just making sure when it's supposed to be dry brush, it's a dry brush. Blend that through there, create those little ripples in the ground. A little more white and a little more yellow ochre. Some little ground in front of it. Okay, so we're going to let that have a moment and we're going to dry everything. So now I'm going to want to clean up a little. Oh, I dropped some water on there. I'm going to want to clean up my stone a bit. So I'm going to grab a bit of my gray. I'm just going to make sure that this side of my stone isn't fluffy. Right? Because I used a kind of fluffy brush, but you want to make sure that your stones are not fluffy. So sometimes I'll come through if there's like soft edges.
Must be controlled.
Yeah, and I'll make them hard again. Okay. Just so that they look right. Now I'm going to come in here and grab a little bit of my white into my pink. Make quite a light color. I'm going to come along the edge. And little highlights to the tops of these. My exaggerated highlight. A little bit pink there just to be playful. And I'll go ahead and take a little bit of my magenta. Kind of exaggerate those highlights. You have to blend those in a second. So we are going to want to blend these together. Add a little more white into this mix. There we go. Brushing that back in. Just kind of developing the shape and folds of the flower. Taking my white into my magenta, but it's a darker pink. I'll go over some of those areas where I wanted a darker pink. You can always go get some highlight with some white.
Yeah. Gotta do the multi-whites. Provide those highlights.
Yeah. Just kind of like keep those pink. We can have a little dry and we'll come down to our white flower. So I'm going to do yellow ochre and a little bit of black. To find some values in play. Keep just brushing that in. And grab some just white here. Just kind of highlighting that up here and there. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to take a little bit of my black, my brown together. I'm going to go around this here. And the same up top. That will be peeking out. So then that gives us the centers of the flowers. Rinse out. Take a little bit of white over to my pink. Make sure you dry off your brush thoroughly so it doesn't get too wet with water. There we go. Just kind of painting in that flower. Playing with the dark and light values to show the different sides of it.
Right.
Take this brush and get a little white. Kind of play with these little tips of these flower petals. Almost a dry brush. Almost a dry brush. Just making sure that that's a nice edge there on that petal. And rinse out a little bit. I'm going to take a little of my cad red and my cad yellow. kind of together. Add some little bright centers. And that yellow, isn't that nice?
It really is.
All right. I want to dry everything because I don't want to drag any paint anywhere. And we'll come back and we'll do some more details. So I want to take a little of my brown over to my phthalo green and kind of kick it up to my cad yellow. Make sure I've got a nice amount of brown in there. I want a green gold, what I'm looking for. I'll go ahead and bring this over here. And brush a little bit of highlight back onto the leaves. Now I'm just going to continue to blend and brush this down. So that's nice and blended together. Then I'm going to get a little bit of my burnt umber in my phthalo green. I'm going to come up the center. Just making sure there's a little bit of dimensionality on those. Rinse off. Now I'm going to take a little black to the side and I'm going to thin it with water. And I think I may switch to a detail brush. Just for the moment, even though I might be able to do it with what I have. I'm going to go ahead and use my number 0 precision, number 0 little precision detail brush. Any detail brush you have will work. You just want something that gives you nice lines. And we're going to go ahead and make some little cracks and crevices in our stones. I'm going to add some more cracks. I like adding little cracks in the stones. Little imperfections. That just give them some personality. So I might put some little dark spots here and there. These are like little moments to give the stones like just dancing my brush around. Okay, so now I want to dry everything so I can do the next glazing layer. Okay, so in this step, I want to add a little bit of a glaze to the bottom of the stones. So I'm going to take my glazing liquid over to my Mars Black, and I'm going to get a nice thin application. I'm going to come under, like this stone right here. And then we're going to Go ahead and pull a little shadow out. And so you want to have this be transparent enough that you can see the rock underneath. So sometimes I will like pull some color back out. Just continue to adding shadows. And glaze over this, and then between these two. And between these two. So we're just pushing things back. Wiggle, 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 wiggle to blend it. Just wiggling it to blend it. Just getting a nice series of shadows and shading going on here.
I really like how much dimension this has come to have.
Yeah,
It's quite nice.
When it finds its dimension, it really finds it. Ends up being a nice little painting. Just making sure that the spaces between the rocks have the nice deep shadow. Exaggerate kind of like maybe even a deeper shadow some places. Rinse out my brush. And I come back with it kind of like clean and I smidge a bit. Smidging is a type of blending. Smidge, smidge, smidge.
It's the best kind.
Okay, I'm going to dry everything and I'll show you what we do next when I come back. Now I'm going to do something kind of fun. I'm going to take fluid acrylic titanium white, or you can thin your white with water. You can make it very thin and flowing with water, or you can use something like the golden fluid acrylic by in titanium white. Either one will work, but I just prefer the one that's in the bottle very much to the mixed one. I'm going to come along my little edges. And just make sure that I've got a little bit of personality.
Yeah, gotta make sure you got that.
Some edge and definition on the flowers. kind of like painting these little flowers in this way. I'm going to come into the one that's white. And I think it'll be even noticeable on the white one. This one just helps the dimensionality of the piece quite a lot. Just running a white line along these little petals. You guys have this. You've got it. You're doing good.
It's popping.
It's popping. It's going. You've got it. We're just white lining. Giving these little edges a little zhuzh, zhuzh, zhuzh. While I'm here, I'm going to sort of soften the transition there. I'm going to grab a little bit of I'm going to make sure my brush is rinsed out. I'm going to grab some pink and just try to make sure that there's a nice softer transition between the pink area and the bottom. More pink, but with white on it. Blend it back up. Just checking around to see if I like everything. I might want to come in here and take my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round brush and get a very light gray. Burnt sienna in it. Dry brush, dry brush, dry brush, dry brush. Dry brush, dry brush. Just want to make sure that this is nice and highlighted where it needs to be. Dry brush, dry brush. Just making sure that I can tell the difference between these two rocks. And that the shadow on this rock, really, really shows. Uh-oh. I'm going to pick up those little boo-boos. There we go. So they're not totally dry yet, which means I can kind of negotiate them off the painting. Sometimes you'll be painting and you'll drag your hand through paint. That's why I dry a lot. You'll get boo-boos. But if the layer underneath is dry, you can do actually quite a lot to clean it up without even having to paint over it again. See? All those little boo-boos are gone.
They're gone. Just
They're
disappeared.
gone. They're gone, man. They're gone.
Gone.
I'm going to go ahead. What step are we on?
Next step this step was 14. Next step will, I don't know, are we going to next step or was this just
Well, I'm thinking I might stay in here, but
stay here? Or you want a new step? It's a good step. We're still in a good
I'm
step.
going to add a dark line down that leaf. You can do it, dark line down the leaf. And then you can even kind of come through and add little vines coming off. Just to give it a little more oosh, oosh. Oosh, 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 oosh. Boots and cats.
Yeah.
Right through the painting because we're cooking with fire now. Now we are cooking with fire. I'm going to rinse this off. I'm going to grab a little yellow. Pure yellow, just sort of on the tip. And I add a few dots of pure yellow to my center of the flowers. All right. I feel like I am ready to sign this bad boy.
I think it's beautiful and ready for signing.
I think I'm gonna take my fluid acrylic and get it into my dirt color. I'll make a very light dirt color. Hopefully you thought today, guys, was good and calming and zen after our door and or I guess our fish. Nice thing to do. The days are running together. All right. Woo! That was a lot. We kind of really got through this today.
Yeah.
So stack stones, zen to look at. I have to ask you, how zen were they to paint? Hopefully very relaxing and very chill with the step-by-step instruction. Now, if you came here because you just saw the stack stones and the flowers, I hope I can encourage you to take part in the 31-day painting challenge. It is a lot of fun, but at very least, hit that subscribe button because I have 2,500 past painting lessons and I plan to make another 2,500 of them. So if you like art classes and this is fun for you, I would be a great place to be. So hit that subscribe button. If you are taking part of the Acrylic August challenge, don't forget to share your paintings in the Acrylic August group. It is a nice exclusive group for these acrylic paintings. We only do acrylic in there. We only do the Acrylic August or April when we're doing it. Any previous years as well. And it's just a good place to come share these tutorials. If you did these in different mediums or you had something else kind of going on, remember the Art Sherpa official group is also a fun and curated group on Facebook. And when I say fun and Facebook, I know that feels like that can't be true.
It is though.
But
it's
is.
So awesome.
That one, I'm only verifying that one location. My groups only, my pages only, because we curate it. We make sure that it stays fun and friendly. So it's a good place to share your art. We're right smack dab in the middle of the challenge. Just want to congratulate you. That you're going. You're still doing it. You're still here. You are amazing. This is hard to do. It's hard for me to do. Right? Coming back from everything I've had to come back from this year. I imagine it's, hard for you guys to do following along. So just know we're doing big work here and I'm super proud of you. Everything you saw on today's show is available for sale in my art store. If you're in North America and would like to get some art supplies that you saw here because you were like, that's really cool, I need some of that, I have that available for sale in my art store. And you can find that in the description down below. And I think we have competitive prices.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like we try to be really cool about that. So go over and check that out. If you'd like to support huge, awesome, nice, cool, big free programs like this. One way to do that is Patreon. So you can go check out my Patreon. They're even doing other stuff this whole month. So like they have their own stuff going on, but they get to see these. They get to see these as soon as they're designed, and they get to name them, and they get to do a whole bunch of cool things. Plus, they get extra content. If you want to paint with me in person, I have a retreat coming up. An art retreat.
An art retreat.
You could come do this
You should come.
this with me
It's
in
so
person. Check that out on my website. So I have so much going on. I know my exit is like, it's like ba 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 ba, but I have a lot going on, and I had to tell you because you might be interested in it. Really, other than that, to pat you on the back and say, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I want to see you at an easel real soon. Bye bye.